The second top reason I have for opening my own law practice, and that I think might give you some inspiration if you're on the fence about whether you leave your current law job and hang your own shingle. And it is this: you have freedom when you run your own law practice to determine how much you want to make. The sky is the limit. There are many examples of attorneys that started from nothing when they opened their own law practice and built multi-million dollar law firms. John Morgan, he's one of them. You see his billboards all around the country. The biggest personal injury law firm. He started from nothing. He started on his own and built his practice over time. And I'm sure he's making millions himself personally, and he's employing a lot of other attorneys. The sky is the limit when you run your own business. The sky is the limit when you run your own practice. And here's the good thing about that. It doesn't mean you have to open a law firm just to make millions of dollars. There are many attorneys that open their own law firm because they want to focus on freedom. What I talked about in the last video. They want to build a practice that can take care of their needs, their family's needs, but more importantly, give them time, freedom, something that is really hard to come by when you work for any kind of successful law firm. Why would you want to spend 60, 70, 80 hours a week working for somebody else just to get a paycheck? Yes, it's good work often. You like what you do if you're an attorney, but at some point, your soul will get lost in that. You're not just a robot. None of us are made just to be technocrats or robots or people that just go, go, go. So a lot of attorneys build their own practice because they want to experience the freedom of deciding when they go to work, when they come home, what kind of practice they have, how many employees they need. Some people have 0 employees because we can do so much more now with virtual assistants or subcontractors. You can farm out work to people online. I mean, there's so many different ways now to run a law practice efficiently if you don't want to go the traditional route of hiring full-time or part-time staff or even hiring other attorneys. And that's the beauty of it. And what I learned after setting up my own practice more than 14 years ago, and I brought on a couple of associates, and it worked out relatively well, but I realized that I did not like to manage other people. I have a large family, 10 kids. I have enough to manage at home. So when I started to discover that there were actually diminishing returns by hiring associate attorneys to do some of the work for me, because it also required that I train them, that I supervise them, that I manage them. And honestly, I like to be the kind of attorney who dove deep into a particular area of law and specialized in that. So instead of hiring a number of attorneys around me to try to build my practice, I decided to let them go and specialize in a very particular area of law and become more of an expert that could command higher fees. And I did, and was charging $4.50 an hour more than 14 years ago, when people twice my age weren't even charging $4.50 an hour. And so it helped me to discover my own particular way of running a practice. There's no one size fits all when it comes to law firms. And I think that's one of the beautiful things that attorneys can do with their own law firms. You can do just about anything in terms of how much time you want to put into it, how much resources you want to put into it, how big you want it to be, what kind of practice you want. whether you want a localized practice, a statewide practice, or even a national practice or international practice. There's so many ways that you can build your practice, and that to me makes it so much more fulfilling than just going to a job, another law firm, working for somebody else or some government agency where I check in and do the work and check out and go home. I'm not building anything. And so when you're capable of making as much money as you want or as little money as you want because you value something more like freedom or time with your family, then you discover that running your own law practice is the key mechanism to do that. And so I encourage you, if you're on the fence about opening your own practice, think about your own dreams and aspirations for your future, for your career as an attorney. How much money you want to make, how much you value freedom, time with your family. Looking at the equation of your time when all of us have a limited amount of time. So you can work for a law practice or a government agency for 30, 35 years, 40 years, maybe get a relatively good retirement. But there's going to be some things that you give up, that you sacrifice. And while there's always sacrifice in life, when you run your own practice, you get to decide how much time you put into building this practice. You get to decide how successful you want it to be and where you go with it. And I think that is really on my list of reasons to run your own practice, to start your own practice. That's the second top of my list. I encourage you, you can do this. You've been thinking about it for a while. Take the dive. Look forward to my upcoming workshop on how to build a six-figure law firm. And I'll help you with the practical steps as well.